Happy Thursday. Hope everybody's doing good. Hope everybody's doing good tonight. I'm hoping that, hey, my comments do work. Yay. I'm going to have to make you an admin of my page, so you can share on Thursdays for me. So I hope everybody's doing good. I was a little worried because we had a storm come through. Luckily, it didn't amount to anything. It just stormed for a little bit, and we had some really nice rain. A little thunder and lightning, and then it stopped. So tonight, as you can see, hey Debbie, how are you? I'm using the Wildcats stamp set tonight. So we're going to have a little wild Thursday. I think this set is just so cute. I have 4 cats. Of course, I don't have this size cat, but I love my cats. So before we get started, I just want to remind you, Paper Pumpkin, for the next month, you have to subscribe by the 10th. It's going to be in expressions in color. It's going to be, I think it's inspired by the expressions of ink stamp set. So this one should be really nice. And also, as everybody may know, I'm on the Create With Us International Tutorial Bundle team. And for the month of June, we created with the pansy petals. And there's 15 tutorials. And it's available for sale for $20. And it's on my blog and across the link on the top. Hey, Karen, how are you? Not sunny and hot here. Hey, Margaret, how are you? And it'll also be available free with every $50 purchase. And then I just want to remind you, I will post the last of the calendars tomorrow, but I have a Days to Remember craft box. You'll get the stamp set, all the embellishments that you need, the card stock for creating each of the 12 months, and all the pieces to create, let me pull it out, this little desk caddy. It'll hold all I haven't finished them all yet, but it'll hold all the calendars just like this, and then when you turn it over, you'll be able to adhere one to the back so you can keep it on your desk and keep tracks of the days of the month. And that is also, I'll have everything written out completely on my blog tomorrow, and you'll be able to see exactly what you get with that. So let's get started. Tonight I have one card that I used some embossing paste and masks, and I wanted it to look like he was sitting in a portrait. Hey Sonia, how are you, honey? And then just a very plain inside. And then I did a fun fold card, and I am going to change the color of him for tonight because I wanted him to be a little bit more bold with the colors of the background and the yellow bumblebee color. I wanted him to be a little bit more bold, so I will be changing his color. And then it opens up and it's just a fun fold card on the inside. And then this cute little purse. We could use these for guys, but you can also use this set for a girl. And I'm going to change this one up too, believe it or not. I'm going to do a different handle. I don't really care for the handle. But when you open this little purse up, it's actually a gift card holder. So that'll be our 3D project for this evening. So before we do the embossing paste, we'll do this card first, because you know what happens usually when I create my cards. There's always a chance to make a mess. So let me just grab, I think I have a piece in here. Yep. Okay, so we're going to start with a basic white card base. And this is about 6.5. Let me just check it with my ruler. Might be a little smaller. It's 6 3/8. And then I actually scored it at 4 1/4 from this end. So then it would leave me with this little short piece, and I think it's about 2 1/8. It is. It's 2 1/8. So the basic white is our card base. And then I layered it up, and don't worry about keeping track of the measurements. If I say them, don't worry, I'll have the PDF tomorrow. But I'm going to put a layer of the basic black, and then I'm going to put a layer of the cardstock that comes with this set. And it's actually called In the Wild. And it really does have some pretty unique papers in it. All different kinds. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, you probably can use the die to cut out the tiger on these papers. They're really pretty. Just so different. So that's the paper. So we're going to layer these down, and I'm not popping any of this up. I'm going to just layer the designer series paper onto the basic black. Now when putting this on, it really is not directional, this paper, but I am, where I did put it on the inside of the card, I'm just going to make sure that when I put this on the inside of the card that it is in the same direction. I wouldn't want it upside down because these leaves are facing upward. I don't want them facing down. So I'm going to make sure that my inside layer matches this outside layer. So we're just going to layer this on the front. And I cut my layers 1/8 of an inch smaller than each other. So we're just going to make sure that it's on there good and that it's on straight. I think, I don't know if I can lift it. It's just off a little bit. There we go. Okay, so that's the front. Now let's get this one on the inside. This one I'm going to do with some glue. This way I can move it around a little bit in case I don't, in case I don't get it on there completely straight. But I am going to layer it on a piece of basic black. And this is 5 3/8 by 4 1/8 is the black, and the designer series paper is 5 1/4 by 4. And we're just going to layer this on the inside for now. Now when I put this on the inside of the card, you see I always put it upside down so I can line it up against this edge. But before I really set it down, I want to make sure that the back layer and the front layer are even, and they're not. That's why I wanted to use the glue, just so I have a few seconds to move that back layer. So now when you close the card, at least the black lines are pretty straight. Okay, so there is the front and the back of the card. Then using, I think the stitched rectangles, let me just see. Yep, the rectangle stitch dies. I cut out, again, basic black, and this is going to be on the front of the card. And I am going to pop this up. Did I? Yep. I'm going to pop this up. Now you want to make sure when you look at your die, especially with the stitched dies. Hey, Dawn, how are you? There is a right and a wrong side. The right side, you'll see that the holes are punched in. On this side, you can tell that it's not punched in. It's just like perforated. So where this is going to overlay, we want to make sure that we keep our dimensionals on the left-hand side. I'm just going to put 4 here. This way I'll know that it's on there really good. And we want to make sure we center this so it's centered on the whole front of the card. So we're going to lay it down, and I'm going to stand up so I can make sure I have it straight. And I think that looks pretty good. So there's our first layer. Then I took a layer of, and I don't want to get the color wrong, Daffodil Delight, and I ran it through the cotton emboss machine with the animal print embossing folder, which is it's really pretty. And to bring out the spots a little bit, I am using Distress ink. I could have used soft suede. I'm just going to ink it up and very carefully go over the top of this embossing folder just to give it a little bit of color. Just so those spots stick out just a little bit more than they do. And I am going to also pop this up onto the front of the card. So we're just going to add our little dimensionals. So how's everybody doing? I hope you have, hey Vicky, how are you? I've been crazy busy. Like I said, we had rain, and I have to get outside and take care of my yard. Haven't had a chance. My garden in the front is like a jungle. So hopefully I'll have some nice weather so I can get that cleaned up. It's right in the front, so everybody around can see what a mess it is. Okay. Now in this die set, you have your dies for your cats, and then it has these cute little dies right here that you could use for vines, like coming off of this piece. But I decided to do them in basic black for the corners of the card. And all I did was put a little bit of glue. And I didn't glue the whole thing, but I wanted to add enough glue in enough spots that it would catch some of the embossed pieces of this back piece. And then I'm just going to do the same thing to the other side. Just add a little bit of glue. And I'm not worrying about it sticking up at all. It just gives it a little bit more dimension. And I just added those to the corners. Just going to scooch that over. Okay. And then using the gold glitter enamel dots, which I didn't even check to see if they were still available. Yeah, that's like here, Margaret. I'm just hoping that after all this rain and crazy weather, that when it finally does stop, it's not 90 degrees out. If that's the case, I'll have to get out there like 6 o'clock in the morning and take care of it, because I am in all sun. Okay, so I added the little glitter dots. Like I said, I'm not even sure if they are still in the catalog, the new catalog. So let me just quick look. Let's see. I don't think they are. Nope. See that? I didn't even check first. They are not in the catalog. So instead of using those, you could always use the champagne rhinestones or the gold ones that are in, let's see, what is this package? Let me open it up here. The holiday rhinestones, I don't even know if they're still available. Yep, it's gonna get hot. That's what I figured. Okay, so now that we have that done, we have to stamp. I guess he is a leopard. He's really not a tiger because he has spots. So what I did for the first one is I did do the cinnamon cider, and I'm going to do the cinnamon cider again. Let me just get my pad, because you know that when you use the photopolymer, you really should stamp on the pad to get the best image possible. And I did stamp him off because it would be really too dark, and I'll show you. He's nice and inked up. And the reason I'm stamping him off is because that's how he would look. And that's really pretty, but I don't want it that dark. So that's why I'm stamping off. And then I am going to stamp him again. And that's in the cinnamon cider. And then on this card, what I did was stamped all his dots in cinnamon cider again. But this time, I want to do it in Cajun Craze. Now you'll notice in this set that their head, and I don't know if you can see that, and it's a little stained already, but this is his head. And you have to line his head up to match. And the best way to do it is to watch his nose. Now that it's inked, do you see that really dark spot right there? That's his nose. And you'll notice when you stamp the stamp, it has a little cutout where his nose would be. So I'm going to stand up so I can make sure I get this on straight. But you're going to line up his nose. I'm going to move this over just a little. Line up his nose. And then make sure his ears are lined up. And then stamp it down. So it gives you his little head. Now it also comes with additional spots. And there's two pieces, one for his legs and one for his body. So what you have to do is just go around his body and stamp. And I did this so I could, if you'll notice, the stamp is rounded on one side. And that's what I'm just going to stamp where all the rounded areas are first, to make sure I get this big stamp finished. I'm just going to do it over here. Okay, so you can fill in all these spots with the big stamp. And then once you think you have not enough room, you can go to the little stamp and then just fill in the rest of these areas. And just finagle it around so it fits in here. You don't want to go down too far on his leg, because you'll go outside just like I did there. You'll go outside the stamped area. Let's do it this way. So just keep turning it so you can fill in all these little areas. And let's do this one this way. Okay. And then what I did is I took the cinnamon cider Stamp It Right marker, and using the brush side, yeah, it's not due, it's a two stamper. So taking the cinnamon, I wanted to make sure that his tail had some spots on it. So I'm just doing little half circles on his tail, and then going in and just adding a few more down his leg so I wouldn't mess up his little legs. Okay, this way now he has a few extra spots. I could have grabbed my Cajun Craze, but I just added them in the cinnamon. And then you would grab your die and cut him out. And that's what I did for him. So I'm going to take him now, and I'm going to pop him up right on the front of the card. Make sure he's on here straight. And you can see it's just a little bit different, and he's a little bolder with the colors I used tonight. So we're going to get him popped up on the front of this card. I'm just going to add one more. I have to make sure I throw all these little dimensional papers in the trash. I have them, they follow me out of my craft room and all over the house. So I'm just going to get him centered on this card. Make sure he's straight. I'm going to move him down just a tad. There we go. That looks better. And then again, taking the little grasses, and this is also a piece of grass. I actually used pear pizzazz, an old olive, and stamped this leaf up so he has some nice grass to be walking through. And then, like I said, we're going to use the matching die and cut it out. And this is what we come up with. And we're going to also pop this up right on the front of the card. And I'm going to pop it up here on the corner so it won't crush our little leopard. If you wanted to add some glue behind it, that would be fine too. And then I cut out, and this is Granny Apple Green, these cute little grasses. And what I did was added some glue to the right hand side. They're so tiny. And I'm just going to overlay them just so it's doubled. I'm going to give that a minute to dry. And I cut out, I believe this is from, let me see, Hippo and Friends, I believe. Yes, it is. This is from Hippo and Friends. And I did it in basic black. But now we have to cut out one. Let me just grab a scrap. I didn't cut the white one out yet because I was afraid I would not be able to get it on there straight. You know how it is sometimes. Now, let's see, where is it? Here it is right here. We're going to grab the You Are Fierce. My block is filthy. And we're going to use Memento. Let's get this out of the way. We're starting to lose desk space here. I try to be neat, but never happens. Okay. So we're just going to stamp You Are Fierce. Give it a good stamp, and we're using the Memento, black Memento. And just give me 1 second. I could have pulled my little one out, but let me just cut this out real quick. Okay, so now it's all cut out. Now what I want to do is I want to just offset it a little bit, and we're just going to glue these together. So we're going to use the little stitched areas of this piece, and what I did was use these straight corners as my guide to offset it, just like that. Now what I did is I glued it to the green piece, and I put a dimensional on this side so it is lifted off same height as the leaves. Let's move some things over here. So we'll bring our card back in. We have our grass. We have our little label. So we're going to flip this over. Our dimensional is going to go on the right hand side, a bit of glue on the left hand side, and we're just going to stick this pretty much in the center of the card. Wow, looks so dark in here tonight. Right in the center here. And just make sure that's straight. Just like that. And then we're going to grab that grass, and we're going to use a little mini dimensional, and we're going to stick this dimensional on the left hand back side, and then glue on the right hand side, and just little dots, because we want this to stick to the sentiment but not cover our letters. So we're going to just finagle this. So, oops, I'm going to need another dimensional, because I forgot this one is right at the edge. So the dimensional is actually on the black frame, and there's two dimensionals between the black frame and this grass. So I'm just taking my dimensional, I'm going to stick it up under here just to make sure. Oops. There we go. Okay. So now let's get this glued back down. And it's not stuck to the back. Okay. And then we're just going to grab some black glittered organdy ribbon. Tie a little bow. Then the front of the card will be complete. Yeah, I like the darker one too, Margaret. He stands out better. I think on the first card, he's competing too much with all the leaves in the background. And on this one, he's a little bit more bold. Okay, so move that over. Get this off my finger here. I had it on there really tight. Now see, the loops are a little bit too big for me, so for the front of the card, so I'm just going to pull on that loop and then pull the tail just to make that bow a little bit smaller, just like that. And then give our little tails a cut. Gonna have glitter all over. And then let's grab a glue dot. I'm just going to add this right here to the bottom of that grass. Okay, so there's the front of the card. Now for the center of the card, we already added the designer series paper. And I did cut out using the stitched rectangles again. And all I'm going to do is bring this back out. I'm going to grab those spots that we did for his back. And instead of it being so bold, I'm going to use the cinnamon cider. And I am just going to, did I stamp off? I might have stamped off. I did. Stamp off and just keep turning this stamp right down the side of this piece, just to bring some of the wild guy into the center, just like that. We're going to close that up. And then we're going to grab I'm grabbing some pear pizzazz, and we're going to use the grass again, but I'm going to stamp it off. And we're just going to stamp that grass right there in the corner. Just like that. I'm running out of room. And then we're going to glue this to the inside of the card. I'm going to pull the card back in. And this is the way I do it, so it's lined up really well. I mean, you can do it a million different ways. Add my glue. And then holding it behind the black piece, because it is exactly the same size. And then I just lay it down. Make sure that you can't really see it. Just going to, and then there we go. So there is card number 1. Let me get all these little pieces and glitter out of here. So there's our wild guy card number 1. Let me put him aside. Yeah, that ribbon is pretty, isn't it? I believe, I mean, this was great Halloween ribbon, I believe. That's how, I think that's where it came from. But it should be in the catalog. It better be, because I'm almost positive I saw it in here. Let me check real quick. I was going to do this. Yep, here it is. The black glittered organdy ribbon. I knew I saw it. Okay. Okay, so card number 2. Let me get a scrap piece of paper, because it may get a little messy. So for the second card, I again have the card base in basic white with a layer of black, a layer of Daffodil Delight, and then, believe it or not, this is a layer of the new Pale Papaya. It's this color right here. And what I did was I took some Mango Medley and Bumblebee and blended color onto the back. So let's start with the Mango Medley. I'm just going to make sure I used a different color on it. And all we're going to do is ink up and add some color to this background. We don't have to really worry about the middle as much, and you don't have to worry about getting a good perfect blend, like when you blend a background, because I wanted this background to look like he was actually on a portrait. That was my thinking when I decided to do this. So we're just going to add some of the Mango Medley, and then I'm grabbing some Bumblebee. And these blending brushes, if you don't have them or you haven't tried them, you should give them a try. They're really amazing. And then we're just going to add some Bumblebee. Just, again, blend it around. Just to get some nice warm color. And like I said, you don't really have to worry about the center, because we're going to cover that up. Okay, So I know it doesn't look anything like this background. But what we have to do first is, let me just grab this big giant block here. A second. I'm going to use the big one. Get that out of the way, because I did use a small one this afternoon. And you can see I put it in a Ziploc bag. But I'm using the palette knives, and it comes in a package of 3. And this is the one I was using. I'm just going to take this off and put it on here. This is, now I have to wash that, the shimmery white embossing paste. So what you're going to do is just grab a little bit, and I have enough here, probably too much. And then I grab some Calypso Coral, and we move this over, and we're just going to add a couple drops of Calypso Coral. Yeah, I love the bumblebee too. It's such a nice, rich color. I know, I've heard that from a lot of different people, Vicky. I mean, I had someone tell me today, oh, I don't like that set. I wasn't crazy about it, but I got it because I have cats. That's really the only reason. And I love animals. And they're always perfect to make, you know, children's cards. Or, like I said, these 2 cards are perfect for masculine cards. But you can also use them for women. So, adding the mango medley to the shimmer paste. And I don't know, can you see? There is a nice shimmer in there. I took one of our masks, and I should tell you that if you do get these, wash it as soon as you're done, because I didn't, and now I have to scrub it. I finished my cards and didn't clean it, so now it's a little stained. And I'm not using masking tape or anything, because I'm just doing this bottom corner. And you're just going to take up some of the paste and fill in these holes right on the card base, just like that. Get all your excess off, and then you can lift it up, and there is the masked and embossed section. Okay, now let's just fold this over. We're going to turn it around the other side, and I'm going to do it the same way. And the reason I picked this one is because they look like leaves, and I'm just going to do the same thing. Making sure whatever card is under this corner, that I'm getting it with that paste. Okay, I'm going to scrape this all up. And again, make sure I don't even think I brought a paper towel in here. Can you believe it? Let me just grab a wipe so I can get this off my hand. And then we're just going to lift this up, and there's our second corner. And before I put this knife away, you may just want to scrape the edges, so if you have any overhang, because when this dries, it dries nice and hard. Okay, so let's just wipe this stuff off. I'll have to give it a good wash, but make it a little less crazed. It's like I said, I did it this morning when I was making the cards. So you really do want to make sure you wash these as soon as you're done. Okay? So here is, see, there are little pieces that are sticking up. I just want to make sure. I'm just going to take them off. We're going to let that dry. And so it doesn't get ruined. We're going to put it aside. Yeah, isn't that cool, too? And let me just quick put this back. I'll have to think of something else to create with this color so I can use the rest of this paste. I'm just going to put it in a Ziploc bag and put it aside. Okay, so while that's drying, let's grab the frame. So I have my card base was 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4. Just going to make sure that this score line is nice. And then for the inside, we have a basic black, 5 3/8 by 4 1/8, basic white, 5 1/4 by 4. And then the same thing, Daffodil Delight is 5 1/4 by 4, and the black is 5 3/8 by 4 1/8. And like I said, I'll have the dimensions in the group tomorrow morning. Well, hopefully by tomorrow morning. If not the morning, definitely by noon. Okay, so again, this should be 1/8 of an inch. So we're just going to layer this down. Whoops. Let me do it this way. So this way I have all the sides. There we go. That's better. Okay. Now, my blade is starting to get dull again. So if you see little edges, just take an emery board and you can go across your edges to take all those little pieces off that you don't want. And then we're going to put this on the front of the card. I'm using glue this time. This way I have a couple seconds to get it in the right position. I'm just going to line this up. Okay, so that's the front of the card. I have all this paste all over. Okay, so let's put that aside. Then I have the little stitched rectangle frame, and then I also cut one out in basic white, and then I took two and put them together to create my frame. And we're going to go back to the Distress ink. Let me grab. And all I did for the frame was gave it some color. Nothing crazy, just a little bit of color. Just pat it out. And then for the edges, I darkened it up. Now it is flimsy. You're going to get ink all over. I'm just going to get the edges just a little bit darker than the frame itself. I'm going to go all the way around. Okay, so there's the frame done. And then we're going to grab the white. Let me get a different piece of paper. We're going to grab the white piece. Now that vine, it looks just like this. Actually, it looks like little hearts. I am going to stamp that. Let's see, we'll do it in the Pear Pizzazz. And all I did was stamped it right across at different levels. This time, though, I am going to stamp off instead of completely stamping on, because I want it to be a little lighter. And like I said, I'm just stamping the top, stamping off right along the top of this piece of basic white. Just want to look like vines are behind him, okay? Then there's also a stamp with little leaves. And we're going to close up the Pear Pizzazz. We're going to pull out the Old Olive. I think this is one of my favorite colors, the Old Olive. And I'll show you, see that, oops. It's just 3 little leaves. And what I did was use these 2 for across the top and had one hanging. So we're just going to stamp these right across the top. Just like that. Just to add a little bit of leaf to it. I just want to check my frame. I want the frame to be able to show the leaves, so you'll notice that it does overhang. So I'm just going to take off about 1/4 of an inch from this white piece, so it doesn't hang below the frame. Because like I said, I want the leaves to be able to show. And there we go. That looks good. Okay. So going back to the piece, now we're going to do, you can't really see them, but I know they're there. We're going to grab our grass again. And using the same exact colors, going to use the Old Olive. This I'm doing in full strength, and I'm just going to, whoops, stamp the leaf on the bottom, and then I'm going to grab the Pear Pizzazz. Like I said, you really can't see this, but I know it's there. Make sure it's stamped up. And then add that to the center. The Pear Pizzazz and the Old Olive are pretty close in color. Alright, so let's get this little guy stamped. And this time, I think I changed his color also. I just want to check to make sure. What color? Let's just see. That could be it. Okay. Let me just grab a piece of paper. I'll use a full sheet right now. And I'm grabbing the bumblebee, and we're going to stamp him full strength. Now him, okay, oh, almost missed him. Now, like the leopard, or I guess that's what he is, This little guy has stripes. Let me just show you his stripes. Okay, here's the stripes. Now this actually can be used on the guy that's standing up. You would turn it this way if you wanted a tiger standing up, or it can be used on this little guy. But first, let's grab his face. Where did my... Just wipe this off a little bit. I have ink all over it. And we're using black. And I'll show you his face. If you can you see his face here? There it is. Again, here's his nose. Oh, it went out of focus. There's his nose right there. And we're going to do the same thing because he has a cutout on his nose also. And that is a good way to guide where you're going to stamp. You do have to look at his ears, but checking with his nose, that is a really good place to start. If you can get his nose right, then you'll have his face right. And then you're going to grab his stripes. Now, when I stamped this, I stamped it this way. And you'll notice this little cutout here is where his leg is. And up in here is his white. So what you have to do, and this is a little bit more tricky, you just have to work this in, seeing, turning, trying to get it lined up. And I did it looking at his back and over here, because this last stripe is going to be right at the edge there, and then stamp. Okay, and for him also, let's see where it is. I actually grabbed my black Stampin' Right marker. I think this is black. And using the brush end, I just added a few stripes to his tail. Now I did actually stamp him and cut him out. So let's use this guy and put them on his tail. Okay, you can always add extra detail to your stamps. Okay, so now he's all cut out. We're going to put him right in the center of our white card. And I'm going to pop him up. Look at that. I stamped him on the back and made a mistake. Okay. So we're going to center him right in the middle. Just like that. And then we're going to add all the grasses. And again, I cut out some of these wild grasses. Let's see. Oh, maybe I didn't cut them out. That's crazy. Oh, here they are. I did one in white and I did one in green. I think I'll use the green one. And then these little grasses, we just have to poke out these little holes in the middle. The detail on these dies are just quite amazing. And I did it in Granny Apple Green and Pear Pizzazz. And then I did the vine. You can see I added it to the sentiment. And then we have our frame. We want to do our frame first. So let's add some glue. We don't want to put too much. Just little beads of glue on the edge of the frame. And like I said, I wanted to make sure I was able to see the leaves. I'm just going to lift it up because I have to oh my goodness, my fingers are sticky, so I can't get it to lay down right. Okay, there we go. Okay, so there's our frame. Now we can start adding our grass. And again, I'm only adding glue to the bottom. Let's stick that right there. And it sticks up a little bit. We'll use this one. Now this one you can see is over top of our little tiger. So we actually have to pop up the bottom piece. So we'll use a dimensional to pop up the bottom. And then we're going to add some glue to this side so it sticks to our little guy. And we're just going to get this right down here. And I'm just going to wipe my hands. They're all full of glue. And then I'm going to grab my basic white. And we're going to stamp "Have a Wild Birthday." Grab the pad. We want that sentiment to look really nice. Okay, so there's our sentiment. And I'm still on the camera. I don't know why it's so dark. I'm just going to trim this off a little bit. And we're keeping it square. Let me just use this. I think I've told you some days I can't even cut a straight line. It looks like today is one of those days. So I'll use the line on this little cutter. So here's our sentiment. And all I did was take this little vine and again, just little dots of glue just to the edge, the ends of these little leaves. Now I know all of them are not going to hit this sentiment, but just so I'm, confident that it's going to stick, we're just going to add this right to the top of the sentiment, making sure we have about the same on each side. Let's let that dry for a minute. And we're just going to grab this Granny Apple Green and we're going to tuck this under right here. And let's see. We're going to grab the sentiment and we're going to add some dimensionals. And you know what? I'm going to add the dimensionals right to the bottom of this card. Just like this. Gosh, I'm going to have a ton of these little dimensional papers all over the place. And I just want to look to see. I did it about halfway. So we're just going to add that right like that. I'm going to make sure it's straight. And it looks like it is. Okay. Now I know these aren't available, but you can use the champagne ones. I'm just going to add these little glitters. Now if you purchase $35 before midnight on Sunday, I'll send you these make and takes, and I'll also send you the embellishments. So you won't have to worry about the glitter dots. Okay, so let's pull our card in. Let's check this out. It looks like it's dry now. So I'm going to grab a piece of paper because we're going to grab our blending brush again. But this time I'm grabbing... Aw, thanks, Florence. The PDF will be in the room tomorrow. Actually, we're taking the, I think it's the Cajun Craze. Let me just check. Nope, it's the cinnamon. Just want to make sure. We're going to take the cinnamon cider. Let me just wipe my brush a little. These are washable, just so you know. You can wash them with soap and water and dry them. So we're just using the cinnamon, and I wanted to darken the edges with the cinnamon. And again, you don't have to worry if it's blended perfectly. I just wanted this to stand out a little bit more and have a little bit of a darker color around the edge. So it looks like it's set back like a frame would be. So we're just going to add some color. I'm not being too fussy. But it just adds just a little bit more. Okay. Let's close that up. Gotta wipe my fingers. I got ink on them again. Now we're just going to glue this to the front of the card. And before you glue it down, you can see I'm going to use this. I can see some of the paste sticking off the edge. So you just want to take that off. Make sure this is opening the right way. Now this is 1/4 of an inch. So you'll have 1/4 of an inch around. So let me just move this over. Make sure it's centered. The paste dries pretty quick, so you can see I did this tonight with you, and it dried while we're on camera, so you don't have to worry. Okay, so now we're going to take our little portrait, and again, we're going to add some more dimensionals. Almost went through a full pack of dimensionals tonight. Okay. I can see it now. These things, oh boy, we're running late tonight. Okay, so center this in the middle. Make sure it is straight. scoot it over a little. Okay. Now for the inside of this one, all I did was grab this little leaf. We're going to use some pear pizzazz. And I think I stamped off actually. And we're going to leave it just like that. Glue this to the center, or onto the basic black, I should say. Now when you add glue, you just want to make sure you add a little bit to the back so it doesn't show through. Make sure it's straight. And then we're going to put this on the inside of the card. Let's try some of this. Oops. You know, it's funny because I'm still not used to this seal. I cannot get used to it. I think that's why I use glue so much. I just cannot get used to. It's so different than the snail. Okay, so there's card number 2. Okay, just a little different. I did a different with the colors. I think I like tonight's colors better. So there's card number 2. Hey Faye, how are you, honey? Thank you. Alright, so now we're going to do the purse. This one I will have a detailed explanation on the PDF where it's running late tonight. I'll go through it quick, but know if you spend $35 before by June 6th, you'll get these make and takes. And actually, if you end up spending $35, I'll throw in the pansy petal tutorial. So I have a piece of Cajun Craze. It's funny, I have that color picker, Stampin' Up! Color picker to see what color you are. And a few of you got Cajun Craze, and I said I never use it. Well, here I am tonight using it. So that's what this is, Cajun Craze. And it's 11, I believe it's 11. Nope, that's a lie. It's 12 by 4.5. Now, to create this purse, I got to get my ruler, and I already did the lines because this ruler is hard to see when it comes to cutting everything. So, let's see, we'll go this way. It's scored at 3.5, 4.25, 4 3/4, 5 1/4, 6, and 9.5. Okay, here's all the different score lines. And we're going to first burnish and fold. So here's the longest end. It does have a fold here, but this long end, starting on the right, you're going to fold up. Okay? Then the next one is a mountain. So this is a valley. The next line is a mountain. The next score line is a valley. The next score line is a mountain. The next score line is a valley. So you know when you have your card facing, anything that is down is a valley, up is a mountain. So the purse is going to come up like this. So this one has to be folded over like that. Okay, so your purse will come up and fold over just like that. But first what you have to do is on this side, the 2.5 inch section, you're going to measure down from the top 1/2 inch, up from the bottom 1/2 inch, and mark it and draw a line. Can you see? I drew a line right across. Then you are going to measure down 2 3/4 inches from the score line and then make a mark. And I did, let me see, right there. And then you're just going to draw a line and connect from the score line and this 1/2 inch line and angle it down. So you would take your ruler, put it on this 1/2 inch line, moving it so it connects to this mark here, and you're going to draw a line. So when you cut this off, we're going to cut right on these pencil marks, just like this. And we're going to do it on both sides. Now this is, we're creating the flap to the purse. Just like that, okay? Now for the front of the purse, we're going to, again, take our ruler, and like I said, this ruler, hard to see. Again, you're going to mark it at 2 3/4, and then you're going to mark it at 1/2 inch. Take your ruler and run your line on both sides. And then we're going to cut that piece off. Just like that. And this side also. So this is what your piece will look like. Once you have this, and I will get my big shot just so I can show you. Don't look at my plexiglass. Look how horrible that is. So, let me just make sure. Okay, so this is going to be your flap. Okay. This is the die from Hippo and Friends. You're going to slip this in, and I actually lined it up so I knew it was straight by the edge. This is a perfect die for this because you can make sure, whoops, I'm going to get a piece of washi tape. Hold on one second. I didn't do this for the last one, but I'm going to do it now just in case. Okay, so you want to make sure there is an oval edge, and then use these little, and you can use it with any die, but I'm using the edge to make sure it's in here straight. And then I'm just going to put a piece of tape there to hold it in place. And we're just going to run it through, not the whole way. Do you think I need new plates? It's funny, the things that you forget to buy, right? Okay, so let me just put this on here so I don't lose it. Take that away. So here is the flap. And see, I pulled off the tape too hard. Let's get some glue on there. Okay. Thanks, Margaret. Now what I did to create and put the paper on is I used each section as a template. So I grabbed my Designer Series paper. I knew that this was 4.5 inches wide. I actually cut it at 4 1/4 in one full strip. So it was 4 1/4 by 12. And then I measured my section, took 1/4 of an inch off, and laid it down and marked it so I could get a similar piece for the bag. And then the same on this side. Okay? Now this is the outside. I did the same thing for the inside. So once I had one piece done, I just cut it for the inside. So let's just put this inside together, because I know we've been here long tonight, so. And I appreciate everybody sticking around. I know everybody has other things to do, so I do really appreciate you all. I love when you spend time. So like I said, that's what I did. I just used each section as my template, and they're not perfect, but it just does finish it off. And I'm putting these on the inside of the purse and the outside of the purse, because where it does open up, you want the inside to look just as cute as the outside. Okay. And one more piece. We want to make sure that we don't really move anything around, because this glue, although it does dry pretty quickly, it does have a tendency to shift. Okay, so there we go. Getting back to the flap, I did the same thing to a piece of basic black. And because I didn't like the way this hung, I'm just going to cut off the corners. This way it will lay there just a bit better. Just make sure. And I'm just going to trim off the top a little bit. So I'll give you the right dimensions tomorrow on the PDF. Okay, so this will fit on here. Let me just cut this down a little bit. I just did it just a little too wide. Just like that. And then I cut a piece out from the same die that I used for the flap. And you can see the two rounded edges. So I just have to trim off one of the rounded edges. Let's let's just see, a little bit more. Right where those two rectangles were, that's where I trimmed it. And that's good. So let's get these down. And then using the, what is it, sweetest? Let me just check for you. Stitch So Sweetly. I cut out another little piece in black. And we're just going to layer this here. And then we're going to glue this one down so it looks like a little latch to the purse. Going to grab the biggest of the glitter dots, just like that. I shifted it. Okay. Now I'm going to grab the tear and tape. I marked Valley, Hill, Valley. So the second valley is where you're going to add your tear and tape. Or glue if you wanted to hold it. But this is where your card is going to go. And I am just going to add it right to the edge so I know I have enough space to put the gift card. Okay. I'm going to lift that up and lift this one up. Whoops. And we're going to close these up. No, I don't think, let's see. Whoops, I don't have another gift card. This one's too big. Let's pull it out of this one. So your gift card will slip right down here in the center. Okay? And then when you lift it up, we're going to close this purse up. And I used a Velcro dot. And I put the clear Velcro so it'll be on the bottom. You just want to match it up and close it down. And then your little purse will stand. Oops. Okay. Now instead of using this strap, I decided we're going to use, just make sure that's on there good. Nope, it's not. Let's see. Oh, look at that. Look at that. My little gem fell off. Let's grab this picky tool. Now that's not good. And my that's because my Velcro is not sticking right. There we go. Okay. All I'm going to do is put a length of ribbon through. Got to make sure it's big enough though. And that's about a good size. We're going to put a knot and then we'll tie it in a bow. pull the tails so it's a good size. Okay. Let's cut these tails. Make sure I don't cut the wrong one, right? You know what? I'm going to turn this way. Just like that. Pull it through. Then the ribbon will be on one corner. And then we have our handle to our purse. Get some of this mess cleaned up. So there we go. There's that. These two. And then our last cards of the night. So thanks for sticking. Yeah, I like that handle better too, Me too. All right, Karen. Bye-bye. So here we go. These are tonight's projects. I hope you like them. Again, if you order $35, you'll get these make and takes in the mail. And I'll probably see you over the weekend. I will. The mystery class is Saturday. So if you haven't seen it, it's posted in both Gal Friday. Hey, Holly. Gal Friday and the group and my business page. So I believe I have it for 2 o'clock on Saturday, and all the supplies that you need are already listed on the event. So I hope to see you there on Saturday. Have a great night, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.